Oh, look out now. It's the Bourbon and Banter podcast, the biggest and most honest podcast in all of bourbon. That's right, friends and neighbors. We got everything you need to drink curious right here. So sit back, grab a pour, and check your feelings at the door, because we're here to lay it down for you as only Bourbon and Banter can. Well, folks, the Hellidays are here and upon us, and we've already gone through 3 cases of bourbon since Thanksgiving by ourselves. It may be the most wonderful time of the year for some, but for others, we know you're just waiting to get to January 2nd. So grab that bottle and a case of Pepperidge Farm Mint Brussels cookies and ring in the season with the boys of bourbon. Here we go.
Welcome to the Hellidays. What? I have never heard that before in my life, Bob. Is it a Bob? Is that a Bob original?
There you go. Hellidays trademark. Trademark, folks.
And just like that, you've gone through a whole year of red tape with the trademark office.
There you go. Trademark.
Well, I've never heard that, but I kind of like it. And I'm also not familiar, believe it or not, with Pepperidge Farm Mint Brussels cookies.
Well, the reason that you're not familiar with those cookies is because every bag of those cookies in St. Louis is in my kitchen. So if you go and they did them for years, but they only did them at holiday time. And then for a year or two, they stopped. And they brought them back this year. And the minute my wife loves them. I have been known to partake of a cookie or 12, but so when we see them, she says, if you see them, you grab all boxes that you can find, all bags you can find. You grab them. I said, well, I want to leave one for somebody else, to come along. She says, no, don't do that. You grab all of them. Don't worry about anybody else. Worry about me. So, okay. So and you go now, you see they got the Linzer raspberry, whatever, and there's a holiday eggnog chess cookie or what, but you can't find them in Brussels because I bought, at least around my house, I bought them all.
Well, that explains it. So I'm going to have to call out to my listeners, right? In other states, other regions of the country where Bob's reach does not extend for at least mint Brussels cookies. Hook a man up, will you, folks? I'd appreciate it. Well, Bob, holidays, whatever you want to call those, the days are upon us, and this time of year, it always brings one of the events that I look forward to every year, and that's the St. Louis's Whiskey in the Winter. Now, this is St. Louis's very own Whiskey Fest, if you will, right? It started just over 10 years ago.
I used to look forward to that, and it'd be great if it weren't for all the people there.
Well, luckily, Bob,
not the whiskey people, just the general public.
Just the general public, right? Well, there are a lot of them. A little over 2,000 show up every year for this event. And, the group that puts it together for the Hyatt Hotel does a fantastic job year in, year out. It's not easy creating an event with that many people, as you state, Bob, and not end up with a lot of arrests. But they do a classy job at the event. And I went again this year. This is our 10th year. Bourbon and Banter has been a sponsor all 10 years. I'm proud to be a part of that. And I wanted to just share a few observations, right? Coming out of COVID, we got this big event. What was it like? Because I think there's some key learnings here for all of our friends in the industry, how to make next year's festival even better. First of all, great brand showing. They had over 400 expressions available for sipping, which is a shit ton of whiskey. No matter how you measure it, whether you like it all or not, there's a lot of stuff there. Whether you like bourbon, Scotch, Irish whiskey, Japanese whiskey, Canadian whiskey, God forbid, there's something there for everyone. And once again, the food was top notch. They have 4 stations set up to visit different regions around the world, so a lot of great food. Seminars were good from what I heard. I never attended the seminar. And they also had their outline area around the conference room floor, which is tended by a lot of bars, local bars doing cocktails. They had a shaving station. This year, Liquid Death was there. That was their name. I forgot about it. I'm not a 12-year-old boy, but Liquid Death was there handing out water samples. So that was kind of fun for people to walk around with the cans of Liquid Death.
Wait a minute. What is this? I've seen canned water. I don't know what is the whole deal behind this brand.
So
I don't even know.
What I can tell you is Liquid Death is a company that sells water, right? It started out with just plain flavored water, and they put them in these Monster Energy style cans, and the name is Liquid Death, and they put these really cool graphics on the cans that look very menacing. So basically, the joke I always had was, now if you're underage, you can walk around drinking something that looks like you're drinking some badass alcoholic beverage, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not an energy drink, right? So you got Monster Energy, which has got the aggressive graphics on it, but this was just water. They have expanded. They do have flavored waters, carbonated waters, things like that. but a lot of people just drink it out of the can, just the regular flavors. And so they've done a masterful job of marketing a commodity in the U.S.
So you said that they had a shaving station. You're talking
No,
about
they did. They did not have a shaving station. There was a shaving station.
No, I know there was a shaving. Were you talking about like shaving like facial hair, or like shaved roast beef and turkey and ham and things like that? That's what I'm curious. Were they doing like some Philly cheese?
There was
type of thing?
shaved roast beef. However, there was no proof that it was coming from the shaving station. The shaving station was, at least I hope not. You know, interesting enough, I skipped the roast beef station because it was the American food. I focused on the Japanese and the Indian station. But from what I could see, it was actually people getting their face shaved and their hair cut.
You stayed away from the American food so you could focus on the Japanese and the Indian food.
Yes.
What is wrong with the roast beef, Pops? Come on, man.
Nothing, but I can get that any day of the week easily.
Well, not if it's good. Not necessarily. You know, the holidays are here. Hellidays, whatever, you get that dry roast beef that's been sitting out for too long, you know, because Uncle Al forgot that he was supposed to be there at 2 o'clock and he showed up at 3:30 and everybody's been waiting and holding the meal for him, and now the roast beef is dry and you got to pour enough gravy over it that could sink the Titanic and it just gets you coughing. And
clearly,
these are the type of things.
Clearly, I've hit a trigger point for you.
So enjoy a good roast beef when you can, folks.
I just triggered Mr. Bob Bennett. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. My work this year is done. It took almost 12 full months, but it's been done.
Hey, I am here just trying to bring equality to everyone, including all your carving stations.
That's right, Bob. Bringing equality to beef. Well done. Moving on from the shaving station questioning. God, it's like the Gestapo here. What kind of shaving was it? Like I said, the show
that
was
is a good question. What kind of was it? A straight razor? Was it the other kind of thing? No, I'm just fucking with you. Come on, go ahead.
It was a straight shaving razor. So anyway, one of the things that I noticed continuing this year, this has been happening a little bit more each year, is we're getting, first of all, less of the known folks from the distilleries, and obviously as there's a proliferation of more whiskey events, bourbon centric events. The mainstays, the celebrities with the lower C's, if you will, from the distilleries can't be everywhere, and they've got to pick and choose where they go. So I understand that. But it also is transferred into a lot of the stations where they were pouring samples this year. There weren't a lot of people from the brands. And we're going to go into this in more detail in the bourbon bullshit section later, so I'm not going to get into this. But that was an observation as well. And while I enjoy the show and I enjoy the format, after 10 years, the format is getting a little predictable. It's getting a little staid, if you will. So I think there's an opportunity for some innovation to be injected into this show. I spoke to a lot of the vendors there. They love the show. They think it's one of the bigger ones, one of the better planned ones. But they are also saying they would like to have a little something there that makes it a little bit more unique. So I'll be providing my feedback to the organizers like I do every year. And hopefully we're going to see some innovation next year. Who knows? Maybe we convince them to let us do that. Bob, you and I should go down and MC the whole thing. We should do commentary from a booth up in the corner.
There's going to be 2,000 people there. Well, yeah, if you can give me a secure booth up in the corner to offer commentary, that that might last all of about 5 minutes before I got thrown out.
No, we'll get you an elevated station. We'll deliver hand carved roast beef to you every 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
5
every
minutes.
5. Well, there'll be donuts. We'll have donuts too.
Okay. Well, the Hyatt though, they've got that big open, off the second floor. You can go down to it. So maybe what you do is you take whoever was voted the least favorite whiskey of the last year, and you fill a bunch of water balloons with that stuff.
There you go.
And then the people who are late getting to the thing, as they come up the elevator and try to get there, they got to dodge people throwing all these water. You donate something that goes to a charity, and then you get the opportunity to throw a whiskey balloon at people as they're trying to get up and they're coming in late. Maybe that would be the innovation they need there. I'm sure that would go over splendidly well.
I'm sure it's very safe. And speaking of safe, you're lucky you didn't go this year. You know why? Because we're standing in line. I was queued early for a VIP ticket, and they came out and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we regret to inform you that unfortunately, the escalators taking you from the second to the fourth floor are inoperable. So, however, you can walk up them if you like."
I would have walked to the car.
Well, they had the elevators running, but a little bit of a wait. But luckily, they had the escalators working by the time everyone had to leave, because I can't imagine a whole bunch of inebriated people trying to walk down an escalator. They can get on and hold on to the handle, but if they had to move, it would have been mass chaos. But good show overall. Good show overall.
Were there a ton of inebriated people there?
No. It was actually pretty subdued this year. I didn't see anybody get escorted out. I didn't see anyone get refused to pour. So I think everybody was on pretty good behavior this year, which is nice to see.
It's about damn time, folks.
All right. Well, speaking of nice behavior, let's take a minute, give the folks a few updates on the Bourbon and Banter community. We had an interesting thing. I think we talked about Facebook giving us all sorts of heck. So we have officially closed off our Facebook community. We will actually remove it by the end of December, and we've moved people into a Discord community. That's what we launched, and that's where our community will now proliferate and grow, is inside Discord, which is a commonly used platform. So it's growing strong. People are getting used to the ins and outs of it, slowly but surely. So we're going to continue moving that. We have 2 single barrels coming here shortly. If you listen to the last podcast, we went down in October and picked a 4 Roses single barrel and a Green River single barrel. Both will be arriving soon. 4 Roses, as of last week, was ready to ship. They were just waiting for that to be picked up and shipped to Ace Spirits, who is our retail partner for that barrel. That is an OBSV recipe at 128 proof, and that's 10 years, 3 months. And what Rick was that again, Bob?
6th tier.
6th tier. Now,
top tier.
Now, Green River, that is almost ready to go. Green River apparently had some issues with the Missouri licensing or labeling approval process, but they, as of last week, got their tentative approval to move forward. So that barrel will be shipping into Missouri shortly. That is going to be available through Randall's here in St. Louis. That is going to be a 6-year, 9-month-old high rye bourbon at about 115 proof, because it's not cast strength bourbon, it's a full proof program. They're going to open up the cast strength program next year, so hopefully we'll get in the queue to do another one of those, but that's going to be coming soon. And both of these are going to be available to Bourbon and Banter community members. If you are a paid member in our community, you get first access to these barrels, and you get to save a little bit of money off retail pricing. And then if you are one of our free community members, you'll get second crack at these barrels at regular retail pricing. And then if anything is left, then we're going to post it to our mailing list of 30,000. So if you are interested in getting your hands on either of these barrels, make sure you sign up for either a free or paid membership over at bourbonbanter.com.
And if anybody knows somebody in Jeff City to get them off their ass to get this shit running through here smoother in the state of Missouri, we welcome that as well.
Amen to that, brother.
The state of Missouri, always finishing 50th.
Oh, man. Well,
unless it's in, violent crime or something like that.
That's more our hometown, my hometown here in St. Louis than the whole state. But yeah, some states go really quick. Some take a little bit longer. But Missouri, despite the fact we have very little rules or laws around alcohol in any other shape or form, they make sure you work for it to get it in the state. But after that, you do whatever you want. In fact, I was telling the folks at the distillery that in Missouri, except for a few counties, there is no open container law for passengers, meaning that you and I could drive down the highway and the one of us who's not driving can be opening and drinking a beer in the car, which is grete. Fantastic.
Let's not share that. Let's not make sure everybody's aware of that. Although whether they're aware of it or not, you go, once you get about, 30 miles south of St. Louis and you start hearing the banjos, you're going to be finding that out anyway. So,
you know what goes good with banjo music? Busch beer. Busch Heavy. Busch Heavy goes really well with banjos. Just saying.
Natty Light.
No. Busch Heavy. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about next year, Bob. 2024. What are our big plans of Bourbon and Banter? Well, I'm damn glad you asked. First and foremost, now that we're bringing in the last 2 single barrels, hopefully by the neck of the woods this year, we're going to be digging into our plans for next year, and we're going to have a little new focus about how we go about these single barrels, and we're putting the finishing touches on that program right now, and we'll share those soon as those become available. But once again, people who are in the community are going to have first access to that, not just to the barrels themselves, but opportunities to join us on those barrel picks as well. So if you've ever wanted to cross that off your bucket list, we're a great way to potentially make that happen. So that'll be coming soon. Along with that, we're also working on some new community plans as well. Looking forward to next year, we're obviously going to have our second annual Bourbon and Banter Summit at some point throughout the year, but we're also looking at setting up a minimum of 4 quarterly, if you will, meetups across the country. So going to different cities and meeting up with listeners and fans of Bourbon and Banter, getting together and enjoying a few drams together in person is the plan. And some other cool monthly virtual events as well are being put together right now and formalized. And then Bob, of course, is going to make random appearances at your local donut shops.
Well, I'm also determined to have the first ever Bourbon and Banter private selection Art Eatables Modjeska. That's right, folks. I'm gonna talk to Kelly about it. We're gonna get it done. What might that be? Well, I can tell you one thing. It'll be bigger than the ones that they have right now. Got to have more quantity. So you get a Modjeska that's about 5 inches square, maybe something like that. You can put it on a stick. You can eat off of it for 2-3 minutes. Then it's all gone, and we're gonna find a way.
It's like a Modjeska loaf.
Yeah, kind of like that. That's actually an excellent. But see, a loaf infers that you're going to cut it and serve it. I'm not serving shit to anybody. It's just for me.
All right. Well, okay. But not everyone is quite up to your expertise, so they may have to slice it.
They taste it, they will be.
That's right. Moving along the lines of the new website we launched middle of this year and new community stuff we've launched, we're going to finish up hopefully by the end of the year with a brand new look and feel to Bourbon and Banter. So we're going to have an updated logo and design and some swag available here shortly as well. So keep an eye out for that and let us know what you think when that happens. But as we kind of skid or crash or careen into the end of the year, or the Hellidays, as Bob so eloquently placed it up front, I did want to take this moment, since this is the final podcast of 2023, and episode number 36 for those of you who are counting on your abacus. I want to thank everybody who not only is a listener of the podcast, but also people who read our content, participate in our community in any way, shape, or form. I want to thank you so much for your patronage, for hanging out with us, for sharing our news, enjoying the jokes, the comedy that we bring to the table. It's very much appreciated, and it helps keep us sane whenever we get your emails and feedback, and it's very, very much appreciated.
Jokes. We don't tell. I just have facts. I don't tell jokes. Some people may laugh at them for the absurdity, but it's all factual. No jokes, folks. Just facts, right here. We are broadcast journalists, or bourbon journalists, if you will. So,
us and the word broadcast. The only thing broad about us is our girth. Okay, let's just be honest.
Well, that's true. Yes. All right.
Well, with that said, I think it's time to shift gears and head into the whiskey news. All right, folks, it's time to check out a few recent headlines that got our attention and quite possibly might be of interest to you. So we're going to kick things off with the boys down in Kentucky at Pursuit Spirits. Now, these are two guys with a podcast that have managed to parlay that into a thriving liquor business, and we want to congratulate them on their continued success. But they reached a really cool milestone in that they've opened up their own distillery experience in Louisville. And now you can go down and take one of two different one-of-a-kind experiences that they've put together, which I think are really actually pretty cool. Because if you've been to the big distilleries, they have very traditional tours, things like that, things that are very OSHA safe, and they got to deal with a lot of volume. But Pursuit Spirits, they're smaller. They're very much into giving you very personalized experience. And I can't say that these are OSHA safe. You'll have to ask the guys about this. Bob, you're waving your finger at me.
The fact that you're describing tours as OSHA safe, that's just, OSHA's there for a reason.
Oh, come on. They spoil the fun. They're like government. They spoil the fun. They get in the way.
But I was like, these tours, they're good and they're OSHA safe. And
come on.
What the hell is what's on the non-OSHA sanctioned tour?
No, the best tours.
You're going to have barrels falling on your head and shit.
The best tours are the ones that you get to do things that no one else gets to do. And those are usually not OSHA approved.
Well, you can do things that no one else gets to do. It just has a question to do of your commitment.
I don't know.
How fast you are.
I'll stick with my theory here. But anyway, right. Sorry, guys. I'll get back to you, Pursuit guys. So their first experience that you can now participate in is called the whole shebang. Tasting, barrel pick, and fill your own bottle. It's a 90-minute VIP adventure for $140. So you're going to taste a variety of their whiskeys, learn about their mash bills, blending, and maturation, and take part in your own private barrel selection, and then fill a bottle to take home. So that's kind of cool. You learn, you taste, you get your hands on the whiskey, you get to take something home, all for $139. And I'll tell you what, that's not a bad price, especially when you look at who other people are trying to take $200 a bottle for you, and all you get is a butterfly.
But look at how they're doing this. So you're not just pulling a handle to fill a bottle like you do at a lot of places. They're actually going to let you thieve it out of the barrel.
Damn right.
Into your bottle. No one does that. I've not seen that experience available. So You're actually going to get to thief and bottle your own whiskey straight from the barrel. So that's actually pretty cool. I got to hand it to the guys for that.
Absolutely.
Nice job on that.
And the second experience you can participate in is called the Pursuit United Breakdown. It's a 45-minute deep dive into their limited small batch bourbon. Now that's a little bit more budget friendly at $35, but you'll taste the individual distillates that are used to blend Pursuit United. You're going to do those at cask strength, learning how their unique profiles and the stories behind each of those come together. And then it culminates in a sampling of Pursuit United and the Toasted Oak Collection bourbon to realize how these little individual parts come together to create something that's greater than the sum of those parts. So you can take these different tour experiences on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. Limited tickets, obviously, because it's a small facility. And they're located in the Clifton neighborhood, just minutes from downtown Louisville. So if you want to book an experience, get more information about it, head over to pursuitspirits.com. and hit the Visit Us button and check it out. And make sure you tell them that Bob and Pops from Bourbon and Banter sent you. We're trying to get enough credits to get some free booze. So do us a solid and hook us up with that. Switching gears a little bit, I did a review recently on the website, and I just want to call this out. If you're still looking for a holiday gift for yourself or someone else, I highly recommend that you check out a new book on the market about Blanton's called Warehouse H. This is a fantastic book, not just for Blanton's fans, but anybody who's a fan of bourbon and their history about it. This is really, really great book. I recommend it. Go to our website, scroll down, find the review there. We're running a contest of someone who's going to win a free copy right after this podcast is over. We're picking that winner, so unfortunately you're not going to have a chance to win. But if you buy the book, you're still going to be a winner. You're going to learn a lot about one of the most iconic bottles of bourbon in American history.
And different than the bottle, you can actually find the book.
That's absolutely right. Now, we could have really, really freaked people out, Bob, and told them that each book has a different letter on the front from the thing. And I know that the author would have been calling me, yelling at my ass on that one, but that would have been a classic joke.
Somebody would. There's people out there that would believe that. We got to buy 8 of these. We got to get all the letters.
That's right. Exactly.
Jesus. Well,
all right, you got one for me today, Bob.
Well, I saw this and I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is happening? I think Matt Evans first shared that. Either Evans or Self shared this, and the holiday season has turned bitter a few weeks ago when workers from a Chicago area, Wrigleyville area bar, known for their love of Jeppson's Malort, accused the ownership of Chicago's polarizing liquor of plagiarizing the ideas. Candy Cane Malort has triggered a Chicago social media feud.
Apparently, can I read the tweet that called them out?
Yes, please do.
So this bar sent this tweet emphasizing this. And I quote, "Look, Jeppson's Malort, we sat quietly while you built your brand this fall, copying our infusions and selling them as house bottles at CH Distilling at a filthy profit without crediting us. But this is fucking bullshit. Quit stealing our mixology ideas without attribution." I love these guys.
These are guys from the, I don't even know how to pronounce this, NISEI Lounge X.
Nice.
Have been infusing Malort, for a while now with various things. They had the Candy Cane Malort. Naturally, they did fucking pumpkin spice Malort. So, the layer, apparently the Thanksgiving-themed infusion that lays hints of cranberry, turkey, bouillon, and sage.
Ooh.
So now we got 2 people doing fucking Thanksgiving birds and shitty whiskey. I mean, come on now. But apparently, yeah, it's all over the place in terms of people on social media blasting it, and it's, it's like back and forth and back and forth.
So let me get this. The bar has been creating infusions because of their love of Malort as a Chicago classic. Malort was purchased a couple years ago by CH, who has now taken those infusions, and I think one of the kickers is they're selling these bottles for $150 and saying a portion of it goes to charity. This is $150 for a bottle of infused Malort with stolen ideas. Right?
And just think about that for a second. $150 for a bottle of Malort, period.
Right. And
infused, non-infused, what?
And they've raised $45,000 for the charities. Now, they're not giving 100% of the profits. Who the hell is buying that much Malort infused with candy canes or turkey dinner?
I can't imagine.
I mean, Malort is challenging enough as it is. It's not good. It doesn't taste great. It's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to. I guess if you've been drinking all night and someone slips it in, they don't tell you, you're going to make the Malort face. But it's something everyone should try because it's odd, and they do some of the best advertising. I mean, they have that poster that says, "Tonight's the night you fight your father." It's a Malort night. I mean, fantastic stuff. But for me, when this got surfaced, and by the way, folks, this type of cool information you can't, that's hard to find on your own if you're not tuned in. This is kind of shit that we surface in the community and people throw up and we comment on. So it's a lot of fun. But the fact that somebody has been writing a love letter to Malort, this bar, through their efforts, and to have those ideas stolen, not to get any credit. And then when Malort finally backpedaled a little bit and posted a note apologizing for not giving folks credit, but they didn't call out that bar. They made it general to the whole Chicago bar community for supporting Malort for decades. I mean, it could be some firebombs coming on.
The bar hosted Malort's Giving for the better part of a decade, and they created Malort wine coolers.
And they have Malortmas instead of whatever those are.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Oh, that's Chris's. Malortmas. Got it.
Malort. Yeah. Okay. But it just, Jesus, for somebody to go through all of that and they just have their shit taken and not even saying, "Hey, thanks. Hey, here's, I don't know, $150 a bottle though. I just can't get over.
The other thing that was in this article that was interesting was apparently bars weren't allowed to make infusions until 2015. When Illinois repealed their ban on happy hours. They also repealed the ban on infusions. I'll tell you, that state, man, let's not go. Let's save that for a future podcast. Let's move on.
I don't know.
Let's talk about anxiety and whiskey taxes, Bob. Why don't you hit us with that one?
Speaking of states and politics and things, so yes, a looming 50% duty on American whiskey exports to the EU has distillers and policymakers concerned. So there was a 25% tariff on U.S. whiskey exports to the EU that was suspended in January of 22. But now it's supposed to return and double at the start of 2024 unless a new agreement is reached. A 50% tax to export whiskey to Europe.
Damn.
So maybe we'll be able to find a lot more of that stuff, So in just putting it into context, from 2018 to 2021, when the tariffs were in place, there was a 12% decrease in total U.S. spirits export and an 18% fall in American whiskey exports. But from January to July of this year, when the tariffs were suspended, exports are up by 27% and American whiskey exports were up by 54% compared with that same time period in 2022. So, it's this is going to hit people really, especially all those distilleries doing the massive expansions that everybody's been undertaking, and so this is going to hurt.
Well,
if they don't figure this out.
I was going to say, time is running out. Nobody does a lot of things over the holidays, so I'm not feeling good about this one. But fingers crossed that we'll get a Helliday miracle before the bottom of the ninth. So. Here's that.
I don't know. Well, when it's about liquor, maybe that'll work.
Maybe. It's all about money, so who knows. Santa, if you're hearing us, you got one last cannonball run to perform before those tariffs goes into place. Hook us up.
Well, folks, when it comes to craft whiskey, We here at Bourbon and Banter, we don't pull any punches. We call it just like we see it. And when it comes to craft whiskey from Texas, there's only one distillery that we're reaching for, and that's our friends at Still Austin Whiskey Company. They're the only distillery that survived the Bourbon and Banter Texas Whiskey Challenge. A true grain-to-glass operation, their hands are in every step of the process, from sourcing ingredients to distilling to bottling, everything in between. It's all right there with Still Austin. Their flagship products include the Musician Straight Bourbon Whiskey, the Naturalist American Gin, the Artist Straight Rye, and the Musician Cask Strength Bourbon, and those are fantastic. That Musician Straight Bourbon Whiskey is the one that first caught our attention back when we were doing our craft shoot. Still Austin Whiskey Company uses 100% Texas-grown corn, rye, and barley sourced from local Texas farmers. To find out more about where you can get their whiskeys, as well as more information about their Austin distillery, visit them online at stillaustin.com/banter. That's stillaustin.com/BANTER. Tell them the Bourbon and Banter crew sent you and find out why they're the only distillery to pass our Texas Whiskey Challenge. Still Austin Whiskey Company.
All right, folks, I think it's time to shift gears and let's talk about some of the newest whiskey hitting the market. And maybe we might just find one in there that you can afford. All right, well, this was fresh off the presses. Old Forester has unveiled a new product in their 117 series, Scotch Cask Finish. This is a new release, and it's a 93 proof liquor that honored George Garvin Brown's Scottish heritage. It celebrates Brown's Gaelic roots with the sherry and wine barrels sourced and matured from the protected Speyside region around the River Spey in northeastern Scotland. Now, this marks the latest installment in the 117 series, a limited expansion lineup that debuted in the spring of 2021, which focuses on innovation and experimentation. As I said, the Scotch Cask Finish is going to be bottled 93 proof and is available starting on December 12th. So, this is only a day or two after it's been released. So, get out to the retail shop at Old Forester and at select Kentucky stores, and you can pick one up, surprisingly, for only $59.99.
If I wanted to drink scotch, I'd buy scotch. Don't do that to the bourbon. Don't do that. Don't do it.
I got some more to say on that, but I'm saving it for the bullshit section, Bob. Take a step back from the edge. The fine folks at Chattanooga Whiskey have announced an annual limited release series called the Vault Series. This is going to be an annual limited release, and they're going to select these once a year, and they're going to bottle them, unfortunately, in 375 milliliter bottles. These are ultra-limited whiskeys that are one-of-a-kind artifacts from the Chattanooga whiskey's history. This year's inaugural release includes a trio of rare 6-year-old single barrels, which showcase a few of Chattanooga's whiskey's earliest, most cherished high malt recipes, including batch 1, 7, and 91. These are bottled once again at 375, and it's available exclusively at their whiskey experimental distillery for $46.99 per bottle. So, once again, factor that up to a full size, you're going to be looking at $93 per bottle. So it's a little expensive for the Chattanooga, but these are, once again, releases that are gone. You can't buy these regularly anymore. So if you like something or never got a chance to taste it, there's a premium to make that happen. That said, price aside, I think it's a fun way for them to kind of take a step back in time for brands, for brand fans who weren't into the party when these first came out. And now they want to kind of go back and see how the distillery has evolved. Imagine, if you will, Bob, if some of our more favorite established distilleries like Wild Turkey or Four Roses, Heaven Hill, went back 30, 40 years in their vault and brought out some whiskey from those days goes by. They could probably name their price and get every single ounce of it. So I think it's a cool idea for our brand to be doing this idea. And of course, though, if Buffalo Trace does it, we're going to shit on it because it'll be too expensive.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. But Chattanooga
full
folks
transparency,
folks. They've always done nice stuff, and it's still a very small distillery. So
absolutely,
they're rolling out some good stuff out there. So it'd be interesting to take.
So be a good holiday gift for somebody. Heaven Hill has announced the fall release of the Old Fitzgerald Bottled and Bond series. This release is 8 years old, and it's comprised of barrels produced in the fall of 2015. Then this is the 12th national release, and it is the most recent addition to the decanter series, which adds to the bottled and bond legacy. It's available in the 750 full bottle size on an allocated basis, and it is going to be available for $109.99 if you can track it down. I've always been a fan of Old Fitz, even more so before it was discontinued and made a limited edition product. But if this is a brand that you like and you like to collect the different releases, this one is going to be another one you're going to add to your collection. On the less established brand note, Puncher's Chance has released their new Unified Belt Bourbon Irish Blend release. Now, you heard that right. This is a blend of bourbon and Irish whiskeys. Now, this is their 5th release in their portfolio of whiskey, and it once again is limited. It's 3 cask blend of bourbon and Irish, and more specifically in this, it's a 4-year-old high rye based Kentucky straight bourbon, distilled with a proprietary yeast and aged to 4 years in barrels, featuring a number 4 alligator char in a rickhouse in Danville, Kentucky. The mash bill being 70% corn, 20% rye, 10% malt. That is going to then be married to a 4-year-old Irish whiskey crafted from 100% malted barley, proprietary yeast, and then aged in former bourbon barrels in a palletized warehouse in Ireland. Then, to top it off, they're going to add a 3rd cask into this, being a 14-year-old bourbon finished in a first fill Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso sherry cask for up to 15 months. That mash bill is 84% corn, 8% rye, and 10% malt. This is all bottled, blended together at 96 proof, and it's going to retail for $150 for a 750 milliliter bottle.
That's a lot of shit going on.
Now, it is, and I can't comment on that last one, but I'll tell you. Last year at Whiskey in the Winter, I was introduced to a company called Keeper's Heart, and that is a blend. The first one I had was a blend of Irish whiskey and rye whiskey, and that's a beautiful marriage. That works really well. I've had their Irish and their bourbon, and that works surprisingly well. Now, I'm a fan of Irish whiskey, so that helps, but I actually find the marriage of those two, when done well, can be quite interesting, because there's pros and cons to each style, right? And if done well, it can really bring out something kind of unique. So this one now, adding in that 14, now obviously 14 year, there's probably not as much of that in there, but it'll be interesting to see how that oak comes in and plays, and then that sherry finish, how that tampers things down. Because sometimes with the Irish whiskey, it can be a little too grain forward, but these blends can be quite nice. And for those who like to drink curious, this is definitely an area to explore of the blending of Irish with rye is a best starting point, but then adding in some bourbon and see where it goes from there. So I don't know if 150 is going to be a great price point. They're doing a lot of things, but kind of expensive in my book for the core products that are in there, knowing that there's probably not a ton of 14-year-old in the barrel.
Did they get Vince McMahon's sign off for the Unified Belt?
No, but they are doing some sponsorships with some MMA stuff right now. So lawsuit pending, probably. We'll see. All right, our friends Milam and Green down in Texas released their White-Tailed Buck Single Barrel Bourbon. This is the 5th and final edition in the Wildlife collection, and this collection highlights the wildlife that thrives in the challenging environments down in Texas. So they've got a release that each one represents a different animal in that environment. So this one is going to be available exclusively at the Milam and Green Whiskey website and the distillery tasting room beginning on December 13th. Now, this is pulled from cask number 518. It's going to have about 259 bottles, and it's 131.2 proof. This is named for an iconic symbol of the region, the white-tailed buck. This one was distilled in Tennessee with a mash bill of 84% corn, 8% rye, 8% malted barley. Barreled in Tennessee in March of 16, aged for 6 years and 8 months. Then they hauled it out to Texas on November 10th in 2022. I love the specificity of what they're giving us here. To age for 1 additional year and 16 days. Palletized on end. And then finally bottled in November. So once again, 131.2 proof. And a total aging period of 7 years, 8 months, and 16 days. Man, I love those details. I wish every brand would give us that kind of information. Now it's going to be $149.99, so it's not cheap. Okay, it's a little pricey for something of that age, in my opinion. But once again, I am a fan of what Heather and team have been doing down there, especially with their blendings. This is going to be a single barrel, so it's going to be a little bit different experience. But if you like that profile coming out of Tennessee and a little bit of twist with that Texas age on there and some of that heat and humidity. Be interesting to see how it changes out. So if you're a fan of theirs and want to help to support what they're doing down there, check out a bottle of that on their website as quick as possible before it sells out. All right, Bob. So, news slowed down a little bit since September, but our Fox team, the forensic undercover knowledge seekers, have been hard at work, and it's my turn to kind of bring some breaking news because I hung out with some industry folks recently and caught wind of this story. So consider myself now a member of the Fox team. That's all I got to say.
Go. Welcome aboard there.
Thank
Pops.
you. And how profound to say welcome aboard. It's almost like you're reading ahead of me here.
Perhaps.
Well, folks, you know that we've broken some pretty amazing stories regarding Jefferson's bourbon. I think the most infamous and newsworthy was when we broke that they were partnering up with Ocean Spray to do Jefferson's Ocean Spray bourbon. But I'm here today to tell you that we got something that maybe is even more profound. This has never been done before in the world of bourbon for what will soon to be obvious reasons. But we have learned that Jefferson's is launching a new release next spring, which is sort of a riff off of some of their other lines. And so let me give some backstory here, because the first time I heard it, I almost couldn't believe it. So we all know that Jefferson's is a brand behind Jefferson's Ocean, right? Where they take bourbon barrels, they put them in a Connex container, and they age them on a ship, right? Well, as if that wasn't enough, they've got another great innovation coming in Q2 next year. And we'll just say this is like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And it's not necessarily something they brainstormed and came up with on. It's more of the world handed them lemons, and they decided to make lemonade out of this one. So apparently, if you've been watching and listening to the industry, especially our podcast, we announced where Jefferson's had come out with Jefferson's Humidity. And this was a series of barrels that were shipped to Singapore for aging in the humidity, right? And they brought those market the barrels. But what wasn't in the news, and I can understand why now, is that the initial shipment of barrels that were sent over to Singapore, they were put on the ship. And since these are not the normal barrels, right? The Jefferson's Oceans, we've come to learn, are put in Connex containers that are open on the top to allow the elements to hit them. Since these were not going through that aging process, they were sealed in Connex containers, stored on the ship. The ship, unfortunately, hit a pretty bad storm. And as often happens, some of these cargo ships, if the storms are bad enough, they lost some of the containers over the side of the ship, including a couple containers filled with Jefferson's barrels. So as you can imagine, when the news of this reached Trey and his team, they were devastated that all these barrels had lost, and they quickly set upon getting another shipment ready over, which is now the humidity release that you have. But this was a loss, and he was going through the insurance process and claiming on this, and he was talking to his friend, who's the captain of the research vessel, which they started Jefferson's Bourbon on. And he said, based on where you told me about where the ship reported the loss of the goods, he goes, that is actually the depth of the ocean floor at that point is actually within salvageable space. We're not talking Titanic depths or whatever. He goes, if the Connex containers are in one piece, he goes, you might be able to reclaim that whiskey. And from that conversation quickly bore a concept from Trey of how he could reclaim those barrels, if you will, Bob, and bring them to market. So he contacted the shipping company, got an update on the request. It turns out that some of the other containers that were lost had cargo in there. We're not sure what they were, but those providers actually had those ships tagged with recovery tags on it. So they had a good, pretty accurate area of where those containers were lost. So using his nautical connections and his friend, Trey hired a recovery team to go in and see if they could find these containers. So they started searching for this, and they finally located them fairly close to where they were reported missing at a depth of about 300 meters. So for us Americans, that's roughly 1,000 feet. I think the Titanic was about 3,400 feet, to give you some comparison. So quite a bit more shallow here. And typically, if you just dropped a barrel down at the step, this is a great pressure. Those barrels would have just exploded. But since they were in that Connex container, the barrels somehow remained intact, even though upon finding these, when they went down in the submersible to extract these, the containers were mangled and dented and whatnot. And there were plenty of barrels that did break, but they managed to recover quite a few. I think there was about 20 barrels that they were netted through the recovery process successfully. So they were able to take these barrels, go through the approval process, make sure they were still, potable, I guess is the word, right? That you could still drink these or whatnot. And they went down there and pulled these up there. Now, obviously, there's dangers when you go through this, but there were sharks that were down there, and obviously they were have an incredible sense of smell. And some people say that the bourbon scared them off. Now, I don't know if it was because Jefferson's bourbon or just because of the alcohol content in it, whatever it may be. But luckily, it made for a safe environment for the recovery team.
So maybe that's what needs to happen now when these folks are going down there to discover. They just need to douse themselves in bourbon.
Maybe,
and the sharks will just turn away. Or maybe it was the Jeffersons. I don't know. Maybe a little bit too much of that seawater for the I don't know.
Right. So at the end of the day, 20 barrels rested about 300 meters, and they were down there for about 8 months. Now, this is on top of the 8 months, or top of the 5 years that they were aged in Kentucky before they put on the ship. There's a lot of pressure on there. So obviously these are going to have reported to have a lot more oak influence to the barrels. And obviously there was no other evaporation happening because it was underwater and it wasn't an intense heat. In fact, it was kind of cold. So it kind of went dormant, but there's still a lot of that pressure pushing it into the oak. So these are kind of unheard of conditions for a bourbon. So I'm kind of curious. First reports say that there's obviously an actually pronounced influence of the ocean because once again it was be underwater, and they actually had to put it through a one-of-a-kind advanced filtering technique to make sure that there weren't too much of the deep sea flavors, if you will, in the whiskey. So I have no idea what that instilled, but I'm sure Tito was involved with his handcrafting. So we're waiting on a final bottle yield total and what the final proof is going to be, and we don't even know what the price is going to be. The only thing we know is the name and when this is purported to be launched. So this is going to be called Jefferson's Lost Voyage. Hopefully it's a one-time release. I think that's what Trey's thinking. And apparently they're rushing to get everything approved and ready to go to launch this on April 15th of 2024 because that coincides with the day that the Titanic sank. And they figured there'd be a good marketing tie-in on that.
The Titanic sank on tax day?
Well, I don't think it was tax day when they sank.
Hey, there are only two things that you're sure of, and that's death and taxes. So I'm guessing maybe.
Oh, and Jefferson's being able to capitalize on an accident. So there you have it, folks. Taking lemons and making lemonade. Jefferson's Lost Voyage bourbon, the debut, April 15th, 2024, just in time for the government to sink you with taxes due. There you have it, man. I feel renewed, baptized in the glow of the fucks. I tell you what, Bob, this feels good.
You feel renewed and baptized in the glow of the fucks?
Yes, the forensic undercover knowledge seekers.
Okay, well,
amen.
I'll make sure to share that.
Amen,
with them,
brother.
And so they know that Pops feels warmth and glow and baptized in the glow of your ever widening presence or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I'm trying to think of it.
Thank you, Bob.
There you go.
Thank you, Bob. Well, Bob, it's about that time. You feeling it? Can you feel it, Bob?
I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling, Pops.
You're supposed to.
I feel something, but I'm not sure.
You feel the need for a little bourbon and a little banging, right? Come on, you can feel it, right? After that unusually quiet month we had, as Erin was out getting her tonsils removed, which she is now fully recovered, thankfully. It's time to bring her back for the crowd favorite, right? For a little bit of bourbon and a lot of banging. All right, Erin, the show or the floor, as they say, is yours. Bang away.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back. And as all y'all know, this is Erin Petrie here. You know me as Bourbon and Banter's resident cocktail editor, expert crab whiskey taster, and pretty bottle enthusiast. I am also our stalwart woman card holder, and I'm here now to report on the state of the dating scene with a lens on coupling for the more bourbon inclined. As the holidays approach, the dating scene becomes even more of a melee with cuffing season rolling into full swing. For those not in the know, cuffing season is when single folks seek out a short-term relationship to keep them warm during the cold winter months and avoid the "why are you still single?" interrogations at the holidays. Essentially, folks want a dedicated plus one to drink bourbon with and drag along to holiday engagements. So here we are, folks, installment 2 of Bourbon and Banging, where we dig into the good, the bad, and the outright cringe of dating as a lady in whiskey. We start off this episode with the Tinder Tater of the Month. In this segment, I will share snippets of real things guys have said to me, excerpts from profiles I've encountered, or dating experiences I've had. As a nod to our bottle rating system, I will rate these love lines as banging, snatch that lad up, bar, okay, give the guy a chance, maybe a second date, or bust, swipe left, unmatch, move right on. So I'm going to start talking about where to host a first date this time. See, picking a location for a first date can be tricky. You don't want to go to your third place, your local, your favorite watering hole with someone you've never met before for fear of spoiling the establishment, embarrassing yourself in front of your bar friends, or even worse, having them return as a regular. Sometimes a date is a good opportunity to try a new spot, but you must tread carefully, my friends. This rule also applies to what you order. I once went on a date with a seemingly normal human male. He reported he had a real job, friends, a respectable life. We decided to meet at a local DC whiskey bar, which I, as you will soon learn, wrongfully assumed was safe turf. The date started off well and he mostly matched his photos. I perused the whiskey list and decided to try a new-to-me pour, Rock Hill Farms. This less tatery cousin of Blanton's had eluded me for some time, as it is much rarer than its horsey-top relative, but friends had said good things about it. So I thought, why not give it a shot? The glass arrived and I gave it a taste. The whiskey yielded a nice palate and finish, pleasant enough, and I thought, as I sat in the booth across from my date, I'd be happy to order this pour again. And then my date started showing his true colors. He spent the next 60 minutes talking at me. I couldn't get a word in edgewise, which for those who know me is totally excruciating because that is my move, okay? That's my move. And then he droned on and on with a lecture about how he didn't believe in government, like having any government at all, which struck me as particularly odd since he worked for the Fed. You know, really spicy first date talk. Then he proceeded to tell me how he had just been evicted from his basement sublet apartment despite the not one, not two, but 3 eviction warnings plastered on his front door. He was incredulous as he told me of coming home one day after work with his belongings strewn across the sidewalk and the marshals wrapping up their job. "How did I know I was going to be evicted?" he said, absolutely astounded. "Maybe the multiple eviction notices?" I replied, bored, polishing off the last of the Rock Hill Farms in my glass. "I guess," he said dismissively. "My landlord said it was fine, but turns out he didn't even own the place and I wasn't there legally. I guess I should have known since he never made me sign a lease, and the guy once asked if he could crash at my place and I didn't see a problem with it. But then he became my roommate. He would have a lot of random people over, but then I think he was just selling them drugs." I waved down the server who brought the check. Thankfully, the guy offered to pay for putting up with his bullshit. At least he was self-aware. And I scurried out of the bar and onto the bus. And that, my friends, is the last time I drank Rock Hill Farms. I'm afraid that if I tasted it today, it would yield a nose of idiocy, a palate of lack of self-awareness, and finish of man-child. This experience left me saltier than the aftertaste of a neck pour of Jefferson's Ocean. The lesson here, ladies, don't try a new pour you've been looking to sample while on a first date unless you're willing for it to be soured by a less than stellar encounter with a real dud of a dude. 0% banging, 100% bust. So now we move on to our profile pro tip of the month. In this portion of our chat, I will give you the lowdown on how to either lure in a bourbon-loving lady and how to highlight your affinity for bourbon without looking like a total idiot. I'll also give practical advice on how to tell if a profile is worth your right swipe or doling out BS marketing drivel like the latest celebrity whiskey. At Bourbon Banter, we like to talk a lot about how marketing can ruin a good whiskey. spin yarns longer than the one your aunt used to knit that god-awful scarf she gave to you for Christmas, or just mislead the average customer who doesn't know that most of these stories are fluffier than the Easter Bunny's tail. In this episode, we focus on age statements. Now, we know that older isn't always better when it comes to whiskey, and younger isn't always better when it comes to dating, and vice versa. As anyone who's ever downloaded a dating app knows, your age is front and center on your profile, and an important part of finding someone who is compatible with your current stage of life. But sometimes the number that is thrown out just doesn't match the juice in the bottle. So pro tip, ladies, if he looks like a leaky-ass barrel that's been beat to hell, a little more charred looking than he should be, or still sporting an actual government-issued tax strip, then he's probably not the 30 years old he's claiming to be. Even the laziest of TTB approvers wouldn't let these claims fly on a label application. Let's take M, yes, that's the name he uses, who says he's 22, but looks like he just left his 30th high school reunion. That's some supersonic aging, if you ask me. Or perhaps we examine Frank, who claims to be 44, but looks like he could have been Bob's childhood babysitter. Franco here has either been hanging out in a 10-gallon barrel, or time just hasn't been too kind to him. And then there's silver-crested Nasir, who claims to be 42, but homie definitely could legally buy booze when Bland's was released in 1984. Either Nas is lying, or he's been putting way too many wood chips in his white dog. Remember, ladies, if the age statement doesn't match the picture, swipe left. That's a bust, a true drain pour. Not even the magic flask could transform these Benjamin Button frogs into princes with IDs that actually match the age of their profiles. And in closing, I hope you enjoyed this second volume of Bourbon and Banging, the ultimate, unfiltered, and uncut guide to dating for women in whiskey. Are you a lady, or perhaps even a gent, who has been lured into a bust of a date under the guise of a mutual love of bourbon? Then share your stories and screenshots with me at aaron.petrie@bourbonbanter.com or on Instagram at livelongandcocktail. Catch you next time on Bourbon and Banging. But until then, don't settle for taters, folks. Don't bang it if it's a bust.
Bob, you got called out.
I didn't get called out for shit. I never had a child. I never had a babysitter.
Never had a
I watched
childhood.
my own self. I was born at the age of 45. Okay, look. I never had to. Never had to deal with.
Dear Bourbon and Banter listeners, if you would like Bob to actually have a childhood, please donate to the Bob Childhood Fund. Venmo. Send an email to podcast@bourbonbanter.com. We'll send you our Venmo information. We'll take up a collection for Bob. Please help a man out.
Poor
He needs
thing.
a childhood. That explains so much, Bob. Who knew Aaron was going to trigger that? That was awesome. That's the second time you've been triggered today, Bob.
Oh, wow.
Is
It's
it-
off to a big start for
That's
you.
off to a great start. Absolutely. Wow.
Is this year over yet? Really?
Aaron, this once again fantastic stuff, and we appreciate you taking multiple hits for the team here. I don't think I could sit through that. That landlord guy, holy shit.
Yeah, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and I just kept slumping more and more down into the booth, just trying to be nice, trying to be diplomatic. To be fair, this was a few years ago, so when I say I haven't had Rock Hill Farms since then, it's been a while. And thankfully, I never really see it often, so I don't get re-triggered very frequently.
Excellent.
So you shouldn't have been diplomatic because the guy said he hated the feds. So don't worry about diplomat.
Oh no, all government. He's like, we should all just
government.
build
All
our own
government.
roads, and I was like, great idea.
That'll work.
Well, honestly, they'd probably better than the shit that we've got out here. But hey,
That's right. Well, we thank you for giving us the seedier side of the bourbon life and dating. It's much appreciated, and we can't wait to have you back for the next episode. So until then, my friend, keep on drinking.
I absolutely will, and I'll keep on swiping.
hey, folks, we're here around the holiday time, and what better to do during the holidays than to gift somebody something maybe that they haven't had before. You've heard us talk a lot about these friends of ours. If you have not had the opportunity to try something from our friends at KO Distilling, right now is a great time. They're nestled in the beautiful mountains of Virginia, and if you think the view up there is breathtaking, you just wait until you taste this whiskey. KO Distilling's whiskeys are currently in the 4 to 6 year age range, with their bare knuckle high rye bourbon being closer to 8 years old. One of the best bottles we've had from anybody in the last couple of years is that cask strength private barrel pick of bare knuckle high rye bourbon that we did last year. That's right. KO's got a private barrel program now. You can reach out to them at info@kodistilling.com for more information. Get yourself your own private barrel of that fantastic bare knuckle high rye bourbon. KO has increased distribution and are now in 7 states, including Washington, D.C., as well as online at kodistilling.com. So for the holiday season, their whiskey is just a short drive or a click away. Craft whiskey done right, the right way, by folks who know what they're doing. That's something we'll always applaud. Check them out at kodistilling.com.
All right, so let's hit some bourbon bullshit. But I have to say, this is the last bullshit of the year, and it's been a long year, my friend. So I got 3 things I've teed up here.
Understatement.
And we gotta, we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna let these fine folks get back to their day, so to speak. The first one is it's coming out of whiskey in the winter, and for me, the bullshit element here is brands that don't show up. You spend all this money to have a booth at the whiskey show, especially a whiskey show that has 2,000 plus people and is well regarded, and then no one at your booth actually works for the brand or knows much about the brand. You go up, you ask a question, they're like, I don't know, I'm just here pouring whiskey today. And once again, I know resources are stretched tight, but how can you spend money to get your liquid onto lips of people and not have anyone that can actually speak intelligently about your brand? I don't care what the person looks like. We're not there, at least I'm not there for eye candy. I'm there to try whiskeys, to learn about the brand. And I have to tell you, Bob, this year it's almost like people are listening to us because more and more people I talk to and I overheard are asking the people that are pouring the whiskey now, are you with the brand? It's like they're hip to this thing that they're being somehow screwed by not having brand people there. Just people to pour out the whiskey. So if they don't fix this shit soon, they're going to wind up with a whiskey fest with vending machines.
And you know something, you can have people with the brand that know things about the brand that aren't necessarily coming up from Kentucky or wherever they are to have to do that. You have exceptionally knowledgeable bartenders and restaurant people in every city that's doing one of these festivals that have the knowledge and the love of a particular brand that would be happy to go there. And why not look at it as an opportunity to throw some additional, payroll at folks who are working those type of jobs, and that they know more about your product oftentimes than you do.
It's true.
So that is always I've been at these before where I had helped some people and had stepped away and just to go and hang with Pops a little bit, and then I walk back by and I hear whoever's there saying something or not even saying anything or giving wrong information, and it just drives me freaking crazy. And it's like, okay, let me get back here and help these folks out with someone who actually knows what the brand is doing and what they're talking about. So it's not that difficult to have an intelligent source pouring your whiskey for you.
Absolutely. And once again, this isn't to say that all brands did this. There were plenty of brands that had people there. Some of them had their master distillers there. Some of them had strong brand reps there, but there were plenty that did not. And the other thing that goes along with this, the other one that drives me crazy is brands that a distributor is there. There was one booth there that had at least 12 different brands that they were repping that I'd never heard of. And the signage and everything was so ridiculously small that when you walked up, it was like being asked to take 16 eye exams at once. And I passed over the table 3 or 4 times. And if it wasn't for Marty Duffy from Glencairn saying, hey, there's this English single malt you should try and tell me where it's at, I would have never known it existed. Right? So once again, if you're those brands that are being represented by the distributor in that way, and you're giving them any money to do this for you, you're being screwed. So once again, resources are hard to come by, but if you're going to spend the money, you're going to up the ante to get involved with these things. Make sure you have a great presence. Make sure you have knowledgeable people there, because consumers are getting smarter about whiskey. They listen to our podcast and others, and they start learning the questions asked, the things to look for. And if you can't deliver on those, that's a missed opportunity, because these festivals are the only way you scale liquor to lips for sampling. Instead of doing it one-on-one in a store, this is an opportunity to scale to get in front of 2,000 plus people. And if you're going to spend a couple $1,000s and not do it in a way that makes the most of it, it's a truly missed opportunity. All right, so another end of the year bullshit, and we don't have to take this long because I think most people have heard this from us, but somebody asked me at the festival, hey, Pops, last year you introduced us to Green River as your favorite bourbon. What do you got for us this year? And I had to sit back and I think, and I was like, I gave him a couple things that I thought was interesting, but the sum of the year was, there wasn't anything that really slapped me in the face and got my attention. Not to say that every whiskey was bad. That's not what I mean. It was that there was nothing truly impressive this year. I felt that the year was oversaturated with super expensive limited editions, a lot of those being sourced, a lot of those being finished. Nothing that really got me going. I mean, I think the brand this year that got my most attention was Holiday Bourbon, which has got a lot of talk around it. They're doing some really good releases and came out with a lot of stuff really quickly, and solid brand, solid things like that. We're going to look at maybe doing a barrel pick with them next year. So they're right up there. Green River came out with their wheated, which is great. We know they're coming out with their rye next year, so we're looking for that. Of the big boys, the thing I got most excited about was Maker's Mark Cellar Aged. Fantastic bourbon. It's expensive at $150, but of all the super priced things, it's one of the few that I would be willing to buy a bottle of it because I liked it that much. But I found it a very tough year, and it's a sentiment that I'm finding echoed by most of the palates and most of the people in the industry that I trust, that this was a really, really tough year for standouts and for things that most consumers could afford, that weren't just repackaging and finishes to try to make a difference.
There's been so much that has been, thrown out over, let's just say, the last 5 years even, that stuff's got to age. You can't rush that aging. And are we seeing a point where people are starting to run low on those aged stocks to create things that are really outstanding, and so they're having to push off whatever they've got right now, which can be subpar at a ridiculous price? And now that people are hip to it, they're not buying it as much. So it's, are we starting to see, the dip downward in the American whiskey market, or in the bourbon market specifically, because there's just not the stock of really well-aged, excellent product for people to put out there, like there was even 5 years ago, much less 10 years ago.
Absolutely. And that kind of dovetails into the next one, which is finishes that don't add up. We've talked about this before, and this is a hot topic, but, Angel's Envy years ago, when it kind of made its name as the first truly commercially available finished bourbon, opened up a huge opportunity for excellence to happen, to have finishes that do fun things with bourbon. But what we've seen in the years ensuing is more and more brands popping up with finishes. And I had, once again, had some conversation with some industry folks over the last couple of weeks about this, and they're popping up everywhere. We've all had the conversations where often, finishes being applied to bourbons why is it being done, right? Is it being done to create something that's greater than sum of the parts? Is it being done to hide the flaws in a whiskey? And one of those most common flaws being a whiskey that is too young, to your point, hasn't had time to age. And every barrel of young bourbon that you bottle after you've finished it is a bottle or is a barrel bourbon that isn't given the time to mature to become something great. So, producers will make you think that everybody and their cousin are clamoring for finishes. I don't think that's the case. I think they buy them and they try them because that's what's out there and that's what they can get. But one perspective that a brand person gave to me was like, listen, can you imagine that you're a distiller somewhere and you work hard to create this bourbon, and you're aging this, and you know how great it can become, and then your parent company or someone else sells off some of your barrels to another company who then throws it in an Amburana barrel or a sherry barrel or a white wine finished barrel or some shit like that, and releases it, and it's not good. Or if anything, it's no better than what you would have produced releasing it at the same age. And then God forbid what it could have been if you let the bourbon age another 2 to 4 years. And that's got to be really defeating for these people making these brands to have their great product treated in such a way. Now, that said, if you truly are finishing a bourbon in a way that will make it far better, that's cool. I like that. I love those types of things. I'm not saying get rid of finishes, but come on, there are whole brands that have built their portfolio around finishes, and they're taking bourbon that's 3 years old, 4 years old, slapping finishes on it. I mean, it's not ready.
I am reminded of a quote that a friend of ours told us that Jimmy Russell had to say one time. Is, if they distilled the whiskey right in the first place, they wouldn't have to go through all that shit. Folks, there it is.
No, I mean, it's just, they're everywhere. It's hard to keep track of, which is frustrating to begin with, but rarely do I find someone that ever writes us or calls us or in the community that says, this finished bourbon is the best bourbon I've ever had. It just doesn't happen. It's usually like, this isn't the worst finish I've had. That's more the conversation you have, or this one doesn't suck that much, right? Or this one, I could drink this one, I won't buy it. Those are what you hear, but yet everybody's buying all these finishes and clamoring for them. It's amazing.
The one thing that I have never been a fan of finished whiskey, but the only stuff that I've found that I have actually liked has been finished whiskey, not bourbon, but whiskey, something that doesn't hit as hard as the bourbon does, and that I've actually dug. But I can't say that I have found a finished bourbon that I've ever really.
Oh, I agree. And you know what? I enjoy scotches with finishes, and obviously that's kind of baked a little bit in the DNA, right? They're using used barrels, so in some way they always have some, whether it's a bourbon finish, right, or sherry cask or something like that. And sometimes they use ones that have more flavor, but it's a lighter style whiskey. It's a different approach. I think it works better in that realm. But with bourbon, because bourbon has such intense flavors, and really relies on that brand new barrel, the finishing, once again, tends to come up short. The other one is the toasting. I don't know where you fit her in toasting, and I'm kind of the fence was out, but I met a guy, you would have loved him, Bob. He comes up to me, standing at a table, tries a sample or something. It was apparently a toasted one, and he finished it. He's like, damn it. And that guy goes, did you not like it? He's like, nope. And he goes, I can still this day, I haven't had a toasted barrel that I think tastes like anything that I want to drink. Like Bob's Spirits
so
Animal.
Maybe what they're doing, maybe we need to look at finishes a little differently. Start finishing things, not necessarily in a barrel, but choose some other things that might pair well with the bourbon, like a sugar cookie sheet. Finish with sugar cookie. Finish it in a cake pan. Finish your ridiculously young, underaged, young wood tasting whiskey that you've got to sell off because you just opened your distillery and you've got to get some revenue back. Finish it in a carrot cake pan. Let's see what that tastes like. That I would be intrigued. Maybe you leave a few bits of the carrot cake sitting in a bottle,
But
work.
but that's not finished bourbons, and that's infused whiskey, and that's a different category, different time, different show.
Nah,
that's a whole different type of bullshit, Bob.
Call it whatever you want. The people ain't paying. Look at all the shit that they make up.
All right, folks. Well, we're gonna finish this off on a fairly short bourbon bullshit. Doesn't mean we're not thinking things, but we want to go out in the year on a slightly positive note. Hopefully, Banter won't give us 100% coal or 100% finished bourbons.
And I got some, cookies that need to be iced, and I got to get these, the little boots in the Christmas trees. I got to eat at least a couple dozen of those before,
That's right. Well, if you got a bourbon bullshit topic you want us to hit strong in 2024, you know how to reach us. That's podcast@bourbonbanter.com. Well, folks, that's it. That's it for our 36th episode, our final episode for 2023. Been a hell of a year. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in, giving us your attention, taking up a little of your drive time. And if you want to drop us a line and let us know what you think about the podcast, our opinions, do so at podcast@bourbonbanter.com. And good or bad, we'll take it all. Once again, we only promise to read the good ones. The bad ones, we have a special process for that. We're not going to divulge what that is. A sheet pan may be involved. I'm just saying. It just depends on the day and the week. But once again, your feedback does help us make a better show. And if you like us, and we hope you do, we want you to write us a review on the Apple Podcast channel. Invite your friends, your cousins, your relatives. And if you don't like us, invite your enemies, because it counts as a download, and our advertisers do appreciate that very much. So once again, I want to thank everybody for a wonderful year. We do appreciate your attention and putting up with our stuff, and especially the bullshit. And on behalf of everyone at Bourbon and Banter, thanks again. And remember, folks, if you're going to drink curious.
Well, what's your preference?
Bourbon, if you got it.
Bourbon from Kentucky.
I should certainly fucking hope so.